Hi there, welcome to Nepi Invest. In this June quarter Appendix 4C video, I'm going to take a look at a company called Alcidion. This is a health informatics company that I have been a holder of in the past. And in the video I did yesterday on Arctus, I mentioned how much sentiment played a role in the movement upwards and downwards of the share price in the short to medium term. That was particularly true of Arctus when we looked at the past about a year. And it's also been true for Alcidion over the past few years. You can see the share price go up and down in waves. Generally, the share price has been going up. This company is growing. They have become operational cash flow positive. So generally, the financial news of the company has been driving the share price higher through the longer term. But when you look at the shorter and even the medium term, we do see these swings in the share price. That's all because of sentiment. And as look right now, possibly that there is a bit of negative sentiment coming into Alcidion. We did see share price get to well above 40 cents. Now it's just been backtracking over the past few months. So before we have a look at Alcidion's June quarter Appendix 4C, let's have a look at some of the facts in regards to this company. I've already mentioned that Alcidion is a healthcare informatics company. And according to the American Medical Informatics Association, informatics is the science of how to use data, information, and knowledge to improve human health and the delivery of healthcare services. Ticker code of Alcidion is ALC. The market cap at a share price of around 38 cents was $400 million. Receipts for the financial year 21, $32 million. Operating cash flow positive for the financial year of 1.1. But when you do look at some of those metrics and compare it to the valuation, you can see how positive sentiment in this company has driven the share price and the valuation of Alcidion to fairly lofty heights. And that's one of the reasons I do think the share price has been pulling back recently. Price to sales ratio 12.4. If you want further information on Alcidion and what they do, have a look at their website, have a look at any presentations or their Appendix 4C that they released on the 27th of July. Before we have a look at Alcidion's June quarter results, I just want to go back to the March quarter to see how the company was traveling at that point in time. Now, receipts and customers for Alcidion can tend to be quite lumpy. So looking at receipts in isolation for one quarter really doesn't do this company justice. You have to look at the overall trend. And we'll look at the trend in receipts in 2 slides' time. And when we do look at that, you'll notice the receipts generally are going up, but there is that lumpiness. So receipts of customers in the March quarter was 11.5 million, and they were operational cash flow positive by 2.8 million. And that's 2 big ticks in my book, particularly the operational cash flow. I like to see that for most companies. But again, with Alcidion, because they do get quite lumpy receipts, the net or the cash flow operations or the cash flow in operations for this company will be positive for some quarters and negative for other quarters. And cash, $15.3 million of cash at the end of the quarter. And I do like to see a little bit of cash on hand for most companies because that, again, gives the management of the company a little bit of flexibility. Alcidion have done quite a few acquisitions in the past few years, and that's one of the reasons why the company's valuation has taken off. So management have gone down that road to grow this company for the future, and it's actually worked quite well thus far. As we look at the June quarter results for Alcidion, receipts to customers have decreased by almost $2 million. And even though receipts from customers have decreased by that amount, the operational cash flow of this company hasn't decreased by quite that much because they have decreased some of their costs in the business. In particular, product manufacturing and operating costs have come down $800,000. Also, GST received, or the other section in 1.8, has come down by almost $900,000. So even though they have increased administration and corporate costs and staff costs by a little bit, the company is still operational cash flow positive for the quarter by $1.6 million. They did do an acquisition in the quarter, $9.5 million spending on that, and they did a capital raising, $18.4 million. So because the amount of capital they did raise was more than the acquisition, they actually increased the cash on hand in the business from $15.3 million to $25 million. I've already mentioned that the receipts for Alcidion can be quite lumpy, and we do have receipts history going back to the March quarter 2016 with this company. And for the first 2 years of history here, we didn't see much growth in receipts at all, and it was a fairly lumpy. So the first quarter back in March 2016 only had $150,000 in receipts, but we really saw the receipts take off towards the middle or end of 2018. We saw June quarter in 2018, 1.6 million, and the next quarter, 5.1. And overall, since then, so over the last 3 years, we have seen receipts growing at a fairly good rate. And I did calculate the growth rate in the receipts from March 2016 and from June 2018. And the numbers we do get are quite good, 22% since March 2016. Main reason why that number is a little bit higher than the last 3 years is because it's on a small base. So we're looking at $150,000, and when you grow receipts from $150,000 to current receipts of 9.7 million, you are going to get a fairly good number. But over the last 3 years, weeding out that first 2 years and starting at $1.6 million in June 2018, we still get a good number of 18% per quarter. If you're talking about 18% per year in growth in receipts or revenue, you'd be very satisfied as a shareholder, but this is per quarter. So that's a really good number, sort of number you want to see for a growth company that Alcidion definitely is. The main driver of the share price movement in the short to medium term is sentiment. But when you're talking about the longer term, it's usually the financial performance of the company that will send the share price higher or lower. It's definitely true for Alcidion if you look at the weekly chart over the past 3 years. So this goes back to the end of 2018 when the share price of this company was actually less than 5 cents. If you remember to the cash receipts, at that point in time, the cash receipts had started to grow. So even though the financial performance of this company was improving, the market hadn't gotten onto the story of this company at that point in time. It wasn't until March of 2019 when the market became a little bit excited about Alcidion, and that's when we saw the share price starting to take off. Massive volume came into this company at that point in time and actually continued for a few months. And that's the reason why the share price rose from 5 cents to a high of 30 cents in September of the same year. So that's a six-fold increase in the share price in 6 months. Now, typically, sentiment will shift quite often. I'd say every 6 to 9 months potentially. I'd say that's probably an average. We definitely saw the sentiment shift again in Alcidion around September of 2019 when the share price got to that high of 30 cents. In fact, we did see negative sentiment come in and affect the share price movement of Alcidion for the next 14 months. And that's why the share price dropped all the way down to 12.5 cents by November of 2020. And we also said, during that period, we also saw the volume drift downwards as well. So the market had become less excited about this company. There was not as much hype, and that's why the share price is drifting down with negative sentiment. And then on one day, on the 9th of November, that sentiment shifted back to positive. And on the back of that catalyst, which was a signed deal with South Tees Hospitals NHS, share price rose 44% on one day on massive volume. That was the catalyst for a shift in sentiment and for the share price to rise fourfold in the next 6 to 8 months. As we move on to looking at the daily chart for Alcidion, going back to August of last year, if we look at that period from August to the 9th of November, the share price of Alcidion was drifting very slowly downwards. Not a lot of volume in this company, which was telling us that the market wasn't excited about the company at that point in time. And all it took was one little announcement from the company, although you might argue with me it wasn't a little announcement. It was a major announcement because we know it was major simply because of the market reaction from this deal. Share price rose 44% on significant volume, and this was the catalyst that drove the share price higher over the next 8 months from that 12.5 cents the previous day or the previous close on the 8th of November to the high of 48 cents start of June this year. However, since that top of 48 cents in the start of June over the past 2 months, the share price has been going lower. So it's gone from that 48 cents to a current share price around 36 cents. So about 25% drop in share price. And right now, the share price is at a bit of support at that 35 to 36 level. If the share price falls below that, that would be negative news moving forward for this company. I'd be just waiting to see a bit of consolidation come into the share price. However, if it can remain above this level of about 36 to 35 cents, that would be quite positive for the company's share price. You might also say there is a potential head and shoulders pattern developing here. I'm not the biggest expert on head and shoulders patterns, but it does look like that potentially, with the shoulder right here, another shoulder right here, and that's the head up here, if you can just see my mouse. So I'm not a big expert on that, but that is also a potential pattern playing out here. I do know some traders look for that sort of pattern. That is a toppish pattern, so a bearish pattern, and they would look for the share price to fall below this 35 cents or 36 cents for confirmation of this pattern playing out. For fans of this video series, where I'll be covering every single company that achieved an operational cash flow positive June quarter, look out for these next 4 videos on SomnoMed, Raise, Beam Communications, and PropTech, a company I haven't looked at in the past. And I did not realize that PropTech is just short for property technologies. So PropTech is all about technology for real estate companies. So have a look out for that video, because I've never talked about, not even looked at that company in the past. That's all I got on this June quarter Appendix 4C video for Alcidion. Now, I'm not a biggest expert on this company, so if you do know way more about this company than I'd love to hear your opinion on this company, particularly if you're bullish or even if you're bearish on the future for this company. I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.